Should rich countries and fossil fuel companies pay for the climate losses and damages they have caused? The link between greenhouse gas emissions and extreme weather events already happening today is now well established. Events such as Pakistan's floods, Madagascar's cyclones, and Somalia's drought are becoming more intense and more frequent due to climate change. They have led to death and destruction and left countries facing immense economic damages, plunging them into debt and diverting funds away from other critical areas such as healthcare and education. What's more, these impacts are only set to get worse. If global temperatures were to rise by 2.9°C, the average GDP of the world's 65 most climate-vulnerable countries will fall by 20% by 2050 and 64% by 2100. By 2030, vulnerable nations are likely to face 290,580 BN to 60520 BN in annual climate residual damages that cannot be prevented with measures to adapt to climate threats. By 2050, the total cost of loss and damage could rise to 118 TN 890 BN 16 TN. As such, climate threats become a larger part of our lives. Many argue that the countries and companies responsible for the pollution in the first place should be the ones footing the bill. So what if we lived in a world where polluters really did pay for the climate damage they have caused? How much would they need to cough up? And would these payouts signal the end of the fossil fuel industry? Would this funding ever be able to alleviate the harm done? And could it mean the world's most vulnerable countries recover from climate disasters and adapt to looming threats? Responsibility for climate change can be seen on several different levels. The actions of governments, companies, communities, and individuals can all be linked to emissions. In a world where polluters did pay their fair share, would it be enough to compensate communities for the losses they have suffered? Wiles says no matter what is paid, it will never be enough, because many communities will continue to see climate impacts into the future. It would help us think differently about responsibility, says Hanks. It's about calling out the moral wrong, and also imagining the world and those power relations differently. Capitalism teaches us a competitive mindset, where as a country we shouldn't give money to another country, and thus risk our strategic advantage, she adds. But it is possible to think in more cooperative terms, and realize that if vulnerable nations are thriving, it makes rich countries more likely to thrive.